Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our second episode of Mute Your Lines. Today, I am extra excited for our special guest. He is our Chief Customer Officer, Norman Wright. Now, I know the last episode that we had, we talked to a couple of our intern alumni and current associates, Tim Yoon and Vatsal Shah of OLE and the Technology Development Program. But we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to put Norman in the hot seat here and start him off with a lightning round of questions. So first and foremost, Norman, welcome, and thank you for taking some time with us today.
Lauren, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be joining you, and hello to all of our interns. So happy you're here with us this summer, and I'm just so excited that we have such an engaged, intelligent, bright, great group with us for the summer. So it's always a pleasure to join you, and I'm ready to be on the hot seat.
All right. So first things first, for all of my Philadelphia fans out there, here's a PSA. Norman is a Dallas fan. So for all of you out there listening, just know this. I wanted to throw that out there because I know I have some Philadelphia natives with us in the intern group that have shared their Eagles pride. So I won't sing the Fly Eagles Fly song, Norman. I'll just ask you some questions.
Calling me out, Lauren, calling me out.
All right. So we'll get started here, Norman. Favorite TV show or movie?
Favorite movie of all time is The Godfather 1, for sure. Love that movie, love everything about it. And my favorite TV show currently is Billions, about a massive hedge fund guy and his battles with the U.S. attorney in New York. And it's got all kinds of really wild subplots and storylines, et cetera. So I love Billions.
Love it. All right. And to that, do you have a favorite book?
My favorite book of all time, that's a tough one, but I probably would have to go with The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Big book, long read, but it's all about how do you find sort of peace in being still and being in the moment always. So we talk about in our culture, be here now. The Power of Now is really all about trying not to worry so much about the past and not to obsess about the future. Try to just enjoy the moment that you're in. Pretty powerful.
Yeah, I love that. Super relevant, too. Super relevant.
Especially now.
Yep. Awesome. All right. Favorite music or band group?
I'm a contemporary jazz fan primarily, although I like all kinds of music. The Pat Metheny group is my favorite group of all time. I love everything that he has done and continues to do, and he keeps evolving his sound and the zones he gets into. So love Pat Metheny.
Love it. Awesome. Favorite food?
Seafood, and if it has an Asian flavor, Asian sort of fusion sort of flavor to it, I could eat it every day.
Love it. New England's a good place for seafood, I'll say, Norman.
Absolutely. I used to live in New Hampshire, commuted down to Boston a lot when I was with Fidelity, and enjoyed the seafood. So you're lucky, Lauren, to live there.
Yeah. Awesome. And last hot seat question we have for you here. What is a favorite hobby or a couple of hobbies that you have outside of work?
I have really gotten addicted to hiking. So my wife and I have a home now in Scottsdale, Arizona. And when we are there, which we get there as much as we can, we're in the mountains doing hiking, fresh air, wonderful views, challenging sort of physically and great exercise. And again, just some peaceful time. So love hiking.
Great. Yeah, no, I'd say for now, being in times where we're stuck inside a lot, I think, and staying safe during quarantine and the pandemic, I'm sure getting out there and being able to enjoy some fresh air has been almost therapeutic too.
You nailed it, and you can socially distance when you're on the trail, so it works well.
Love it. All right, so thanks for sharing that, Norman. I love just being able to connect. I think so many times we have conversations or speaking sessions with leaders and executives, and it's nerve-wracking at times, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I have this person who's coming to speak with me and share all this amazing knowledge, and I have my notebook and I'm writing down notes and I want to be, but sometimes it's nice to take a step back and know the person.
Yeah, I love it. I love
that has the influence.
I love that you started that way, and it's a get to know you thing, and I think it's great. It's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I want to get started with here is, first and foremost, we have our 500 interns tuned in here, listening. We have leaders, other colleagues that are listening here, and I have personally loved, over the last couple of times I've heard you speak, I've loved hearing about your growth, not only professionally, but personally. So, growing up in Philly to now. So let's start there. Can you take us through, I'll say, some of the big moments that you've had that have led you to your current role as Chief Customer Officer at Optum?
Yeah, happy to, and I'll try to be concise here. So it's been an odyssey. It's been incredible, 34 years now in corporate America, 7 companies in 11 cities. Frames up kind of what my journey has been like. But there were clearly some big moments and sort of turning points. First is right out of college, I got into Chase's management development program for operations and technology, and that was just a great grounding, initial training, launching pad for me. And right out of training, I got assigned to London, England. So, got married around the same time. My wife and I went off to live overseas for 3 years, and that was incredible. Worked in a brokerage business and an international private banking business. So that was a big turn, incredible experience, stories I could tell for hours and hours of what we experienced, but great learnings. When I came back from London, I worked still at Chase in a technology organization, and that was an important part of my career. The only time I've worked in a pure technology role, but it was important to learn sort of a little bit about that competency set. If our friend John Santelli was on the phone with us, he might giggle at the old outdated technologies I worked with back then, but he worked on those platforms too, so we've joked about that. But working in tech was really good. Next big turning for me, and I describe this as the second and third times I fell in love, is when I flew out to Arizona to go and start a role at Chase in a big credit card call center. Got off the plane and fell in love with Arizona almost immediately, and then really fell in love with the concept of managing large numbers of people in a customer service context and trying to inspire them and guide them and support them in providing great service. And that became my platform for a good portion of my career. I went on to GE, I went on to Fidelity Investments, I went to Home Shopping, and all doing call center sales and service kind of roles. It was a big departure for me to leave financial services and go to Home Shopping. That was a huge step away. And I did that because I wanted a new experience. I wanted to pick up the retail and the TV shopping businesses. Just wanted to learn some new things, exercise some new muscles. 2 other final ones I'll point to. After Home Shopping, I went to Accenture and stepped into consulting. I wanted to develop some strategy muscles. I wanted to get inside of the C-suites of around the world and sort of get to see life from that altitude, if you will, and really work on developing strategy consulting skills. That was great. And then lastly, after many years in financial services, consulting, and retail, I get this wonderful call from Optum. And it's healthcare, and it's a wonderful mission, and it's growing, and an opportunity to impact millions and millions of lives in a positive way. And again, stepping into a new industry, which meant learning new things, but a chance well worth taking, and I haven't looked back.
It's so interesting because every kind of new role, it almost completely different.
Yeah.
So banking to retail, and then back to Accenture, which is maybe business consulting, and you're like, I'm dabbling healthcare. Let's try this next. And so with that, there must have been challenges, right? So can you talk about any, do you have any pivotal challenges that you had to overcome, or even just lessons that you pointedly remember?
Yeah, one of the biggest lessons, and this is really about sort of career development, career management, as well as humbling yourself and managing your ego, which I think is a really important thing as you pursue leadership. So, short story, when I was at Home Shopping, I was 4 years in, having a wonderful time, managing sales and service and some of technology, sitting on the executive committee for that company. all great, right? All going really well. And the chief operating officer role opened because we had a rotation, new CEO, COO job opened up, and very clear it was going to be down to two candidates, me and a gentleman that led our fulfillment centers and the other elements of our technology shop. And boy, he was a bright guy, worked in retail his whole life, worked in the Disney stores, so he had run stores, really super sharp talent. Now, I thought at the time, I'm just as sharp. I bring a different set of skills, and I come from a different industry, but I think I think I can compete with them, and I think I should get that role. And they ultimately chose him. They chose him, I think, for a really good set of reasons. Career retailer, again, very good at what he did, well-positioned as the company was taking its next steps in its growth, since he had done stores, was about to branch out into some other channels. So I could see it making a lot of sense for them. They expressed all kinds of value to me. You know, they took care of me financially and in every other way, so it wasn't about any of that. But I pretty quickly sort of reached a turning point. Do I stay here and wait it out, or do I think about what comes next for me? And my initial thoughts were probably less mature, little ego bruise, and why not me, and I can go work anywhere I want, and some of those thoughts. But in the end, I really accepted that, yeah, this is going to happen throughout your career, and you know, it's all about timing and circumstances and positioning, and he was the better candidate. So great, let me just take my learnings from there and move forward. And very fortunately, Accenture came knocking. So I gave Home Shopping another 9 months, gave them long notice that I was going to be moving on after my contract was up, and I went to Accenture, and just it was an amazing experience for me. So that was a big challenge I went through, Lauren, that I'll share with you, and I learned a lot in that moment.
I love that too, and I think it's something, I'm going to tie this back to something you talked about in the beginning and your favorite book. So talking about moments, so there's a past, there's a future, but there's also the present, right? And kind of, I mean, it sounds like, Norman, you had to own that. You had to own hey, they didn't choose me, and this is what it is right now, so I can't do anything about that, but all I can do is now focus on how I'm going to choose to move forward.
Perfect read, exactly where I ultimately got to. And if I could have coached myself for like initially, it would have been exactly how you described it, Lauren. So yeah, perfect.
I love that. And I think something we talk with the interns about a lot is ownership.
Yes.
And you will get provided opportunities, but you'll also get provided with challenges. Sometimes challenges that you feel like you will not be able to overcome. You want to throw in the towel, call it a career, and, you know, give up. And I think with this being said, something that we've moved into, and our team has as well, is focused a lot on not only owning that part, but owning having the hard conversations.
Yes.
Having conversations that are uncomfortable, stretching yourself to grow and move forward, even if it's something that you're not an expert in or you just want to or need to learn more about. So I know it's shifting gears a little bit, but tied to that kind of ownership, can you think about any, I'll say, uncomfortable conversations, challenging conversations that you've had maybe with your teams, or that was, you know, given to you from a leader, manager, or colleague?
Why don't we go to the very recent past here and everything we've been experiencing now in the world in the wake of George Floyd's murder and the follow-on social unrest. So we're already in a pandemic, then that tragic situation happens, and we're all feeling this broad range of emotions depending where you are on the spectrum. And, you know, historically and traditionally, not only at our company, but at many companies, you kind of wouldn't talk about it. You sort of just keep going, and you're talking about it at night at home, you're talking about it with your friends, but as an organization, no, we're not really going to go into those uncomfortable waters, right? We'll stay away from them. And 3 days after the tragic murder, I was coming in the morning, and I sent a voice text to my team. And in substance, that voicemail said, hey, I want to acknowledge what's happening right now in the world. It's right here in our backyard in Minneapolis, by the way. It's an incredibly emotive, difficult situation. I know we're all having feelings about it. I want you to know, guys, that I'm having feelings about it, and I'm not actually okay in this moment, right? It's taken me some time to work through this. So if you sense from me any emotion or am a little off my normal axis, you know, here's why. So that's one. And then two, all of our people are going to be feeling this big, broad range of emotions. And we're all going to have to get comfortable as we lead to open up the dialogue, make it okay for people to share how they're feeling, understand that all of the customers that we're serving are feeling some of the same emotions. You know, this is a real thing. So let's wade into the water here. It's going to feel uncomfortable, bumpy. You may think you say the wrong things. As long as your intention is good and pure and you're trying to sort of help move us forward, then it's fine. Have the difficult conversations. I thought our CEO, Dave Wickman, modeled that beautifully on Wix Weekly when he invited Heather Cianfrocco and me to come and talk about this situation. And that was him trying to do that same thing, making it clear to the organization, we're going to have these difficult conversations. We're going to grow through this together, and we're going to stand up for each other. So that, Lauren, is my best and most recent example. To be a leader is difficult at times. It can be challenging, but you really got to push yourself. And, you know, I gave that example. It could be around performance review and performance coaching and performance ratings. It could be, unfortunately, you have to let someone go. It could be around you're trying to work on a new product, a solution, something like that, and you got disagreements amongst the team or which direction you should go in. Or one of the most important examples, a leader thinks they know what should happen or a direction that we should take, and 2/3 of the room disagrees with them. Are you just going to follow along, or are you going to speak up and wade into the difficult conversation? You have to wade in. You do.
Yeah. I love just the tie-in, I think, Norman, with what is going on now, especially in terms of, you know, social justice and the movements that are happening. I think it's so important. And I always say, like, I keep saying with even folks that I mentor in some of our programs and my colleagues, we all own a part of that. I keep going back to ownership,
Yes.
but
Yes.
like we all own part of that. And I know for me, being a white woman working at a company, it has been something that I have entered into new. It's new for me, and I still am learning a lot and asking the questions and having the conversations. And now at that point of, you know, we can now we can act. Let's now move forward, kind of move through the conversations and then push that next step to action and change. And I was asked this question, and I'd love to ask it to you. I was asked this question by my friend Demetrius out there. He works in the HCAP program, so shout out to Demetrius if you're listening. And he said, you know, we're such a large company, and you know, there's a stigma around being a Black man working at a healthcare company. And I said, absolutely. Talk to me more about that. He said, do you think that we can push for change? Can we have a voice as a company in this field and push that change? And I shared with him my response of seeing how things have moved over the last 4 years from when I started to now. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that too.
Yeah. So first of all, I love that you are having that kind of conversation with one of our teammates. That says a lot about you, Lauren. It really does. And I would hope that all of us are engaging in the same way. You said the last 4 years. I think about it my 7 years here. I think about it on the arc of time. And where we were on the progressive scale when I landed here in 2013, which was very conservative. We don't really speak out publicly. We let our actions kind of show how we feel about things. We're just sort of careful, right, when it comes to wading into social injustice or any sort of issue like that that can become a touch point for controversy. You know, you fast forward to today and think about all we've done internally from an inclusion and diversity perspective. Think about us publicly celebrating Pride Month, publicly celebrating, acknowledging Black History Month. Think about us being far more comfortable when George Floyd, that situation happened. A note comes out from Heather and I to our company, gets posted on LinkedIn, and goes to millions of people, right? Literally.
Right.
We got thousands of notes coming back saying, wow, great to see United Health Group being clear about how they feel about this thing, and that they're taking a stand, and they don't stand for injustice, and they're going to do their part. Dave stepped up immediately with support for the local business communities, volunteerism, $10 million between the small business community and the YMCA to work on equity and inclusion. So we are, we're moving up the progressive scale, and it's real. I'm excited to see it. So we have a lot more work to do, especially on diversity and representation, people of color, more women in the senior ranks, et cetera. Yes, we do, and we're getting after it now. But we're moving. We're making progress, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. I keep saying it takes a village, and it doesn't just come top down. One of the things I told Demetrius is I said it comes bottom up too. So we can play a huge role in who we connect with, how we connect with people, normalizing conversations, and then challenging ourselves to continue to do more and speak more and think differently. So I appreciate you, Norman, just touching on that and having the conversation with me here too about that.
Yeah, you got it.
All right, so we're going to end here with my final question. It's my favorite question, and I ask every leader. I think about this often myself. So what do you know now, Norman, that you would tell your 19, 20-year-old self?
That's a great question, and I've been asked that a couple of times. I really like that one. When I was 19 or 20, so I guess I'm, junior in college, and I was a little wound up. I was a little anxious about the future. I wanted to have a plan. I wanted to know what I was going to be doing 5, 7, 10 years from now. I was unsure and uncertain around what the future was going to hold. And I maybe learned I didn't obsess about those things, but pretty close. And, if I could talk to my younger self now, I would say, hey, have a broad plan, but nothing specific. Go out, experience new things, learn as much as you can, step into areas that you might think are just interesting, follow your passions, because that's always going to lead you to really, really good places. And you know what, as you go along the way, build relationships with people, build a really big, healthy network of folks that you can count on, that you can learn from, that you can just engage with, connect with, and your career it'll take shape. Because as you move along and you step into things and experience new things, you're going to start to see and understand, oh, my passion is leading me in this direction. My natural skill set is kind of sort of also suggesting I go that way. I'm challenged by that direction. So, okay, it'll start to take shape. And there's no reason as a 19 or 20-year-old to overly think that. You just need to give yourself permission and the opportunity to go and experience things, and things will take shape for you.
I love that advice. And I think something that's been consistent, even, talking with our alumni and other leaders, is there's so many different pressures, whether it's social media or norms of, a life timeline or what you should accomplish by when. So I think that's great advice for all of our interns to keep themselves grounded, and also remember, back to what you originally said, relish the moment, celebrate what you are doing right now. I'm going to steal that too, Norman, and continue to use that when I talk to our interns. And I'll say, Norman, something that I've loved that you've always said is you talk about listen, learning, leap, and lead, and you always talk about kind of leaning into those things. So again, thank you for just not only, being here and trying this out. It's our first podcast ever, but always being a person that leaps and leads by example, but then you turn around and you pull people with you too. And so I hope that leadership doesn't go unnoticed. And, I'm grateful to continue to be able to have a relationship and work with you and connect with you and have you speak to our group of early career professionals and interns. So thanks again, Norman, for your time.
Well, I feel the same about you, Lauren. I'm glad we get to work together in the way that we do. And I really appreciate the opportunity to just share a few thoughts and observations with this group. And I hope everyone has a safe and healthy rest of the summer and learn as much as you can, A, and then B, teach us as much as you can. Give us your observations, your thoughts, your ideas. We look forward to learning from all of you as well. So, Lauren, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks everyone for tuning in to this episode of Mute Your Lines with the Early Careers team. I'm Lauren McCart, and as always, if you have any questions or need anything from the Early Careers team, feel free to shoot me over a note at lauren_mccart@optum.com or our Early Careers inbox at early_careers@optum.com. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon.